Thank you for spending some time with me today. I guess the first one I'd want to start off with is what were you doing before you created NEXA? I've asked everybody else what they were doing before they came to NEXA, but I guess you created it. So what were you doing before you created NEXA? What caused the impetus to create it?
Well, I mean, the reality is that we could not find a mortgage company that was built to run loan officers. And when there's not a gas station within 200 miles, build a gas station.
What
Right?
was it that others were offering that wasn't built toward loan officers then?
Well, the entire companies, right? So what we found is that whenever we would go and look for an organization, everything had so many rules and things to it that, and I know the industry, I've been doing it for years, and I'm like, well, you don't have to make that your rule. That's your choice to make that your rule.
Got it.
But so there's so many handcuffs on the loan officers that always bothered us that I said, well, why not have an organization with just a base platform that lets the loan officers swing from the fences? And we always found that at the end of the day, it always was about flowing back up to only a couple of people within the organization to make them, hey, and good for them, filthy rich. Right? It wasn't about becoming filthy rich. It was about creating something that a loan officer could maximize themselves. Now look, we got 1,100 loan officers. I'm going to get mine.
Right.
But when we first started out, we didn't have that many, right? And it wasn't about getting rich off our loan officers. It was about creating opportunities so that they can get rich off themselves, right? So pooling all the loan officers' business together so that each loan officer can individually benefit from their pipelines. That was what it was about, to give the mass benefit to the loan officers. Make sure the company can stay protected and stay in business. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Providing mass benefit to the loan officers. It had to be the loan officers that were the nucleus. And that was the problem that we saw, was that all these companies, somehow, some way, the loan officer was simply not the nucleus. And quite frankly, so many companies that once you went there, it wasn't the same, right? Is how they recruited. I saw a joke online yesterday, and I swear I'm going to use it on our next recruiting webinars. And it says that a loan officer recruiter died and went to heaven. And in heaven, they were given a choice. St. Peter says you can live in heaven or you can live in hell for eternity, right? Which one do you want to do? It's your choice. He says our policy is that you got to go spend one day in hell and one day in heaven, and let's see what you do, right? And he says, well, I think I'd rather go to heaven. He said, well, but that's not our policy. You got to go spend one day in hell and one day in heaven. So they said, okay. So they go down to hell. St. Peter brings them to the elevator. They go down to the elevator and go down and spend a day. They open it up, and lo and behold, there's this beautiful golf course. There's some friends of theirs over there hanging out. They're all having a good time, laughing, jovial. Just a great, phenomenal environment. Like, this isn't so dang bad, right? Yeah. So then their day is up and they go back up to heaven. He says, okay, let's now spend a day in heaven. It was cool, right? The loan officer recruiter was able to sit there and be entertained in a nice cloud bath, and it was cool. And when they come back down, he says, okay, well, St. Peter, what do I do? What do you want to do? So St. Peter says, or they say to St. Peter, says, well, I'm sorry, heaven was cool, but I think I'd rather go down to hell. So they say, okay, no problem. So they give them to the elevator. They go down the elevator back down to hell, and all of a sudden they open up, it's in a wasteland. It's destitute. And there's the devil. And the recruiter's like, what the heck, man? He goes, well, yesterday we were recruiting you. Today's reality.
Today's the real day.
Right. So, and that's what we didn't want to have, and that's what we experienced everywhere we went, and that's what I experienced. And I was just tired of the do what you say was what it came down to.
Right.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
you'll recall, I reached out to you before I was even a loan officer in just a regular email one night about 11 something, and that was because my wife was so frustrated with the company that she was with as a loan officer that she just was, always complaining that she didn't get any support. And I thought, well, there's got to be someplace out there that can get her more support. I emailed you, guessing your email address. I didn't even know what it was, at about 11 o'clock at night, and your email policy. Within 15 minutes, I had an answer back, and I was just like, wow, where does this kind of support come from a CEO? I was blown away. So I'm still blown away by everything that's going on there. And so Diane and I have been very, very pleased with it. What would you tell somebody that's looking to join NEXA? Obviously, you say that every single Thursday in your meeting, but
I say
is it just that they're free to do what they want?
Yeah, do your research and ask questions. Don't take my word for it. Talk to our active loan officers.
Got it.
Ask them. Ask our active loan officers what the current state of affairs is at NEXA Mortgage. And then do your research at another company. If you think the other company is a great fit for you, then great, go to it. NEXA will be right there waiting for you when it's not.
When those doors of the elevator open up and it's not what you think.
Exactly. When you want to take the elevator back up, let us know. So it's always an option. Is the point. But do the research. And I always say that, hey, look, NEXA had growing pains too, right? Someone says, well, I did the research and I saw a negative review. I'm like, you saw a negative review from over a year ago when we had a growing pain in one particular department. We fixed that though, right? So talk to the current loan officers about the current state of affairs.
Right.
See if we fix problems when they come up, right? That's the idea, is that this is great, but don't think that problems won't arise and we won't have to fix certain things that we promise you. The difference being is that we will fix them and they will be what we promised you.
Right.
Not just a bed of lies.
Well, I appreciate that. You cut out.
Just an absolute no-brainer.
Well, I had a half an hour, and we are at the bottom of that half hour, so I will let you get to the next meeting that I'm sure you've got, sir, unless you've got something else for me.
I don't have any. My next meeting is in 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, I really do appreciate it, and I love the company that you've created. I've said this before. You know, I was a Marine. I've seen many, many leadership styles, but what you and Matt do as servant leaders is, to me, second to none. And I may have told you this before too. I was the vice president of research and development at a telephone company. I got paid to come up with the new ideas, and I still got shut down by my bosses who claimed that they were in my court. They weren't. And
Right.
it's just so invigorating to find a company where people actually that do exactly what they say they're going to do. Like you said, you know, you open that door and it's the same thing they said it would be.
Yeah, my big struggle these days is retraining myself, now that we get bigger and bigger, to keep saying yes to people instead of like, oh, well, we do it this way here. That is not what we were built on. I got to remind myself not to say that that's how we do it here.
Right.
Because how we do it here is how the loan officer wants to do it.
And you said a minute ago to me,
and I caught myself saying no to it. I'm like, I'm just saying no because that's the way we do it here, and that's the wrong answer. So I turned myself around in that meeting real quick.
And you said something a minute ago. You said, well, you know, if somebody saw a bad review a year ago, well, that was when we were having growing pains. I get the feeling that if we can do what ESP and others have done, or EXP and what others have done, those growing pains that you think are there today might turn out to be even bigger.
Come about again. Yeah, there'll be another growing pain again.
Yeah.
And the important piece to growing pains, though, is that we understand they're there. We understand we're not perfect, but we understand we made a promise to loan officers that they're going to come to us for a certain reason, right. And we're going to make sure we'll fulfill that promise, and we fix those growing pains as fast as we possibly can. Right. They'll happen.
Yeah.
Right. But we fix it. Not every loan closes on time. It happens.
Right.
Right. But you fix it when something doesn't go right, and that's what we're about. So.
Yeah. No. And I love that. Thank you so much again, Mike.
All right, Brandon.
Have a great afternoon.
You too.
We'll see you.